We're losing our love of college. We ace an exam, but the only thing we feel is relief at it being over. We scroll through Instagram at 1 a.m., knowing we shouldn't, but not being able to stop. We talk to one of our 20 friends, but still feel lonely. We sleep through our days like a chatbot prompted by chains of routine. Where did we lose the love? There are billions of reasons that other self-improvement YouTubers will give you. We're stuck in a routine, not growing, etc. But I think there's one thing funneling all of this. We don't love college because we've lost touch with the beauty of consciousness. We're no longer mystified by the way that we make meaning from symbols in a textbook, by the jump in our step after talking to someone who deeply understands us, by the soft awakening of awareness when we open our eyes in the morning. And I get it. College is harder than it's ever been. Making real relationships in an online era feels like performing surgery with oven mitts on. Studying while wondering if AI will replace your major freaking sucks. And the pressure to have your life figured out at 22 is absolutely absurd. So how do we change it back? How do we fall in love with consciousness again? Here's the secret. Romanticize consciousness everywhere. And I know that sounds like someone who owns way too many crystals, and I do own a lot of crystals. But this isn't generic mindfulness. This is romanticizing consciousness. It doesn't just mean being present for the good things. It involves a fundamental shift in your being, the way that you relate to the world. Not just noticing what's in front of you, but being genuinely moved by it. The difference between glancing at a painting at a museum and standing in front of it long enough that it starts looking back. There are two principles that can get you started. Principle one is to fall in love with present consciousness. I remember when I moved to Enschede a couple months ago, I had the pleasure of setting up my studio apartment, which I'm in right now. I know it looks like I'm in space, but behind this green screen, there is a whole apartment. That is clean, mind you. Haha. I finally have my own space and I don't have to deal with uncleanly college students. Uh, but it was empty when I came in. It was unfurnished with the soul of a forgotten rock. And so there was white walls, there was a cold floor, there was a huge window when I came in with a bike path right next to it so all the Dutch people could look and judge how short I am. So logistical things used to make me so bored that I would consider retaking Gen Chem just for the excitement. But this time I actually felt incredible because I had this romantic orientation towards consciousness. I totally fell in love with the process, watching the room transform as I pinned Stormlight Archives poster on the wall of the Wander sale, as I taped my own poetry to the walls just to really show people how pretentious I am. And as I set up my desktop computer, which I'm using to record right now, and I flew from America, which I'm not going to tell you how much extra it cost in order to get that in the suitcase. That was not fun. And I also hung up fake roses on the wall because I killed my last real plant after I forgot to water it. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. Now, it wasn't all sunshine and roses because as I was setting up my new life, I was also mourning my old one. I grieved for my life in Ithaca and for the remote job, which I was leaving, and all the walks around BB Lake that I would never get to do again, or at least for a while. All the colleagues that I wouldn't play Clash Royale with at 12 p.m. on a Thursday. That's what falling in love with present consciousness feels like. It's not just all sunshine and joy and Candy Crush. It's the negative things too. And The way that you do this is you practice what I call selfless seeing, attuning to life with non-judgmental, caring intent. Not what can this moment do for me, but what is this moment? It's surprisingly hard because the false self colors our perception of reality so much. The false self is the parts of our life that we've attached to thinking they're us, our achievements, our friendships, our name, our past. We don't see our false self as it is because we're so wrapped up in surviving it. In order for the false self to continue, it needs to continue existing through embodying the values that you have, through seeing the friends that you have, through continuing to take the classes that are in your major. And so simply by behaving in line with yourself, you survive that self. This is great. Our false selves are not inherently evil. They're trying to help us in the ways that we think we need, whether that be getting a good grade so that we can get a good job, whether that be being charismatic so that we can make friends, or whatever. The problem is when we don't realize the false self as false, as hiding our true self. That is when we start watching life through self-smog. Things become clouded by our false selves. We can't fall in love with present consciousness because the false self always has a story on top of it. We can't get excited about making our new apartment or our dorm room because there's things to study for, and what are you doing? And there's that friend that you have to see, and you can't think about interior decoration the whole time. What are you doing? Once we do see past this false self a little, life becomes beautiful. The warmth of the first sip of morning coffee spreading across your tongue before the caffeine even registers. The freezing of your mind as you get the urge to text that one friend, wondering what they'll say next. The half second before your mom speaks and you have this overwhelming sense of love for this person who raised you. These moments are already happening, but it's just so hard to see them because we're asleep to these moments from the false self. And so the secret is not to get rid of the false self, but to just mindfully become conscious of it. Through things like my shadow journaling video, you can see I also have a video on the false self explicitly, which is called The Root of All College Freshman Challenges. That's how we start to love consciousness as it is, to receive what's there. But there's also another kind of consciousness loving that transforms as well. And that is principle 2. Fall in love with growing consciousness. And let me tell you a short story to elucidate this. So a few days ago, a girl that I was dating told me that she didn't see the relationship going further. Apparently, I am too feminine, and I don't know what she's talking about. I mean, the earrings, I think that is the most masculine thing that I could possibly think of. No, I totally understood it. And you know what? I actually felt incredible not because I didn't care, but because I grew so much in that month and a half. I noticed the shadow from my previous relationships surfacing within weeks instead of within months or even years. My old pattern, which is craving intimacy, giving someone the ocean before they've even given me the tide, was in full effect in this dating. And this time I freaking saw it. Spotted it with my eyes. And instead of letting it run, I caught it. So the relationship ending, the dating, didn't feel like a failure. It felt like evidence that the practice was working. And this is what happens when we fall in love with growing consciousness. Challenges don't frustrate us. They actually enliven us. The question is, where can we practice it? Firstly, in our studies, we can grow consciousness by studying more effectively, expanding the colors through which we see the world by gaining more knowledge, connecting ideas across disciplines rather than just having these artificial hard boundaries, seeking truth, not just as what a professor tells us, but as what we ourselves uncover. That is beautifying consciousness in studies. And I have quite a few videos on that, actually, and articles on deepening your learning, which you can check out. In relationships, we can also grow our consciousness by building humor skills. I have a video on building your humor and learning how to have conscious romantic relationships that actually work, which I also have some videos on, like 5 questions to fix your failing college freshman relationship. Navigating shadows in relationship is a great other way. I have a shadow journaling video. Some of my most profound moments of consciousness have been falling in love consciously. In self-understanding, we can also grow our consciousness through journaling, through regulating our nervous system. I have a stress regulation video you can check out. Learning to be happy as we already are. Check out my happiness video. And navigating our judgments and forgiving those who wronged us, which I also have 2 videos on above. In creation, finally, we can also grow our consciousness, perhaps in the most tangible form, like making things, blog posts, videos, art, a terrible poem, which I've hung all over my studio apartment. Any choice that builds toward the life that we want is this act of creation. And so the real insight that I want to give you is, in order to fall in love with college as a freshman, we don't need to overhaul our lives. We don't need a spiritual retreat or a new morning routine that will abandon my Thursday. We just need to stop sleepwalking through the consciousness we already have and start treating the growth that we're already doing as something worth falling in love with. The walk at 9 a.m. is still there. The coffee is still warm. Your mom is about to say something, and you have no idea what it's going to be. Fall in love with it. If you like this video, check out my free college freshman cosmic journaling kit in the description below. This will help you build your emotional intelligence, your self-understanding, and your purpose with 1,000 journaling questions in just 15 minutes a day. A lot of the things to fall in love with consciousness and college. Check that out in the description. As always, I hope you have a splentastic, phenomenal rest of your day. Eat some peanut butter, and bye-bye.